Sophie, why don't you play something for us as a way to introduce yourself to the class? Just a way of saying hi.
Breathe In stars Guy Pearce as a married, middle-aged music teacher, his rock dreams in the past, a life of cosy mediocrity up ahead. Then, in walks Felicity Jones's self-possessed English exchange student, wise beyond her years and pointing the way to romance and freedom, or possibly an emotional pile-up of biblical proportions. Henry, he's in his 40s, she's 18, but did they convince you as a couple?
They didn't really, no. I mean, I think both Guy Pearce and Felicity Jones are great actors. And I think the cast in this is brilliant, but they all seem to be doing little solo pieces on their own rather than playing as an ensemble. I think that might be Drake Doremus' problem for me, is that he has a great crew around him. I think the editing and the way this is shot is beautiful, and it's a really nicely put together drama. But the plot for me was like a ludicrous extended version of the OC. It's full of, you know, sexy older guys and live younger women coming together in taut situations where their romance shouldn't happen, but hey, it just might. It's kind of really silly, this film, in its own way, and it takes itself incredibly seriously, and to me it was a big turn-off for that reason.
It's certainly very solemn, isn't it? And the solemnity is reflected by the Felicity Jones character, who barely cracks a smile and is this sort of solemn agent of chaos, isn't she? I mean, she really does. She is like a kind of Godzilla.
I thought there was something interesting about her, actually. I thought there was something interesting about the movie in general, though I certainly agree it is very self-conscious and very solemn. What I liked about it was that moment of madness, which happens almost invisibly, and you don't know quite how it's going to happen. And Guy Pearce is very good at conveying the self-pity and the prickly discontent. And also there's something very interesting about the way Felicity Jones's character is again self-absorbed and kind of arrogant and entitled in the way that young people can be, teenagers can be so artless. And there's two interesting moments when she does something that she needs somebody's permission to do, and she never apologises or even understands. She flunks out of his class, and then she says she's going away to stay with someone else, and she manages to annoy both the Guy Pearce act and his wife without ever appearing to understand that she's done anything wrong. And I thought that was interesting, although, yeah, it doesn't quite come together. I wanted a sort of flash of passion or something, and it was very controlled, beautifully made, and a bit over-determined.
I also think there's a couple of huge giant piano-playing cliches in this. In the one scene where Felicity Jones starts to play a slow song and he thinks, oh, she's just a regular old pupil. And suddenly her hands go crazy.
Suddenly she's Liberace.
God, she's sexy when she hits that high E and all that kind of nonsense. And then there's a bit where they're sat down playing the piano together.
Is she going to have a crack at the Flight of the Bumblebee?
But then they sit down together next to each other at the piano, and then their fingers touch the same note. It's on now. It's happening.
Also, why couldn't she just have been an average pianist? She has to be absolutely brilliant.
He has to be. Although I think it is interesting that that is the sexy thing about her. It's cliche, but I still think it's quite strong that she doesn't have to do anything. She just happens to be very, very talented. Although, yes, suddenly uncorking that massive Chopin is very broad. It's very broad.
You know, to fear and anxiety and pain.
They seem so together now.
The world is problematic, you know, for him. And I think that, you know, we can imagine it all.
Mr. Grew, Agent Lucy Wilde of the Anti-
I could pretty much excel at whatever I want.